Welcome to our first topic for the finals period for the subject RDT 119. So today we're going to discuss about communication channel. So let's start with the objectives first. Learning objectives. So first is to discuss the nature of communications in an organizational setting, including communication flows, channels, and even networks. The next one is to explain barriers to communication and discuss the most common types of barriers to group communication. Okay, so there are three types of communication flows. We have the downward communication, we have the upward communication, and we have the horizontal communication. So what are the differences between the three? So first, let's discuss the downward communication. From the term downward, it flows from higher organizational levels. So for example, from the supervisors, the, for example, when the supervisors will communicate towards its subordinates, that is downward communication. Based doon sa posisyon ng isang person or isang personnel who is giving out the communication or the instruction. Next is we have the upward communication. This one naman is the opposite of downward communication. When I say upward communication, it flows from lower to higher organizational levels. So from subordinates, papunta naman sa supervisors. And the last one is we have the horizontal communication. Communication flows across the organization among personnel on the same level. So again, from the word horizontal, meaning yung communication will just flow from one specific personnel to another specific personnel na kung saan ka-level lang sila. Okay? So example we have here a diagram of the three communication flows. We have the downward communication, which is presented by the purple or the violet one. And then we also have the yellow one, which is yellow or orange one, which is presented represents the upward communication. And we have the red arrows, which presents the horizontal communication. So the owner or the president, siya yung nasa pinakataas. So any information that comes from the owner or the president, papunta sa kanyang subordinates, those are called downward communication. So owner or president, communication towards the marketing manager, that's downward. Then marketing manager towards the advertising supervisor, that is still downward. How about these two? Since magkapantay lang silang lahat, this one here is an example of a horizontal communication between the accounting manager and the marketing manager. How about the upwards communication from the staff towards its supervisor? Same as here, the copiers, and then we have their supervisor for the copiers, the note takers, and their supervisors. That's still upward communication. So here are the advantages of the different communication flows. Okay, so the advantage for a downward communication is that it is appropriate for giving instructions or directions and telling people what to do. So that's downward communication. The advantage of the upward communication naman will provide managers with information that they need for making decisions. It will also serve as a vehicle for new ideas, suggestions, and even complaints between their subordinates. And for the horizontal communication, it supports efforts to coordinate tasks and otherwise help people work together. In horizontal communication sa madaling salita, it will promote coordination because the information or the communication is between sa two personals na magka-level lang. Next. Channels of communication. So there are two characteristics of organizational communication. The first one is we have the internal and external channels. When we say internal, it is shared by people at all levels within a company. So lahat ng personnel nag-share ng mga information and details within a specific organization. External naman occurs between parties inside a company, yung isang tao, and then they are going to communicate or they are going to be linked by other parties outside the certain organization or company. That is external channel. Okay? So example ng mga external channels, we have suppliers, we have customers, we also have investors. So both internal and external include everything, lahat, from email and official reports of face-to-face conversations, and even casual phone calls, even sa website, and even advertising. That is part of the internal and external channels. Okay? Next, we have the formal and informal channels. When we say formal, it consists of all communications that flow along its official lines of authority. Okay? So, galing susundin niya talaga yung nasa organizational chart. Informal naman crosses virtually every boundary drawn by a firm's organizational chart, reaching out and touching everyone in the organization. It travels a lot faster than official information. That's informal channel. Okay? Next. The three V's of professional presence. Okay. So the three V's, we have the vocal, the visual, and we also have the verbal. So the visual, the vocal, and we have the verbal. Okay. Let's first start with the visual. So from the visual, kung ano yung nakikita ng mga participants sa isang tao who is in front of them or presenting. Okay? So again, when we say visual, yung nakikita natin with our own eyes. Ano-ano yung presence ng isang ng speaker, ano yung kanyang hygiene, makikita natin paano siya gumalaw. That's part of the visual. So most of the visual is what you call non-verbals. Okay? So part of the visuals is the non-verbals. So researchers say that 65% of communication are comprised of nonverbals. Okay? And nonverbals include eye contact, facial expressions, body language, gestures, and even using space when you are going to speak in front. Okay. Eye contact. Okay, so anong meron kay eye contact? Eye contact regulates the flow of communication. Next, signals interest in others. Kasi 'di ba pag someone is talking and then hindi sila nakatingin sa mata natin, parang hindi sila interested or somewhat they are hiding something. So eye contact will regulate the flow of communication. You know that they are being sincere with whatever they are saying and that you know na may sense or nakuha mo yung attention ng isang tao when you are going to do eye contact. Increase speaker's credibility. Yan. So parang wala siyang tinatago. Establishes the bond between you and the audience. And then we have the facial expression. So always remember to maintain eye contact 70 to 80% of the time. Make everyone also feel included and important, and also look at the person you are speaking to. And do not concentrate on a friendly face. So hindi porket na siya lang yung tumatango, siya lang yung mukhang nagpa-participate and nakikinig sa lecture or sa lecture mo, then you should focus your gaze on that specific person. The more that the other person are looking parang bored, the more you have to actually make eye contact with them para di sila mabore and they are going to participate and engage in your presentation. Okay? Sige, next. Facial expressions. Smile when appropriate. Express emotions with facial muscles. Ayan. So, di kayo pwede magtawa-tawa lang ka bisag walay katawanan. If you are going to be the speaker, you have to be formal. You have to use your facial expressions to make an impression and to make emphasis also with whatever you are speaking. Relax your face. Dili kay nangurog. Okay? Kay sa nawong pa lang makita naman if you are confident enough or if you are nervous when you are going to speak in front. Next, body language. So for body language, we have the proper but relaxed posture. Okay? Lean towards your audience. Face the audience and not your visual aid. So when you're talking, you are going to face your audience. Pero pag may gagawin ka sa visual aid mo, may susulat ka din. That's the time that you're going to face your visual aid. But when you're talking or you are going to explain something, you have to face the audience. Next, move around. So, di pwede na stagnant na ka sa isa ka posisyon because boring yung presentation mo. So, you have to use the whole space or the whole podium. Next, take every chance to approach the audience. So, kung pwede, if you're going to ask them, so you're going to step down sa podium, you're going to magsa-circle-circle ka, lilibutin mo yung room. So, you take the chance to approach the audience para mas engaging. Next, your stance or your posture also matters. So, stand straight, do not slouch. Keep your weight balanced, both feet. So, di pwede magtindog ka na nasa isa lang ka leg ang imuhang body weight. Okay? So, mukha kang tamad kung ganon. And mukha kang hindi interested sa sarili mong topic. Next, stand tall. Look forward and slightly lean towards the person you are speaking with. Gestures, okay. So for gestures, we have use hands and body in order to first relax the participants, stimulate the eyes, drive a point, emphasize an idea, hold attention. And these are the gestures na hindi pwede, mga no-nos. First is playing with objects, nail biting, finger and foot tapping, playing with hair, adjusting clothing, sexual gestures, showing aggression, holding something when you are nervous, and keeping both hands in one pocket. So, bawal po yung mga ganon na gestures. Use of space. Ito yung sinabi ko, you have to move around the podium or you have to move around the stage. Walk around from left to right. So, anong magagawa nitong walking mo? So, it is to change focus, it is to break monotony, and to approach a participant. So, yan siya ang mga uses when you're going to walk from left to right. Next, tapos na tayo sa first V. Next, let's proceed with the vocal. Okay, so papaano yung vocal? So, your voice will tell others about your age and gender, not applicable always, but most of the time. Your physical and psychological condition, no? Kung magsigal katawa, di ba? Ang ngayon naisip na to, pero may is buang man ni siya. Uy, weirdo ni siya. Di ba? So, yan siya. So, part yan siya ng vocal. How you are feeling, your personality, your how relaxed you are, how healthy you are, your geographical and social origin. So, ang iba kapag gahi ang English, o kani, Bisaya ning dako, mga ingan ana. Education, intelligence, and expertise. Okay? Sige. Let's proceed with the voice. Okay, your voice, there should be effective breathing. So dili kay mura kag nagdali and mura kag nagdali, speaking of, mura po kong nagdali. Okay, in voice there should be effective breathing in order to convey your thoughts properly. So dili ka mura gihangak, no? Next, pacing and pausing, tone, pitch, and proper enunciation, voice projection. So use voice to drive a point, emphasize a word or idea, hold attention, steer emotion, and maximize the clarity of your ideas. Okay, let's proceed first with the volume. The loudness or softness of the voice. So that's what we refer to as the volume. Voice pitch naman is the high and low of sound. Okay? Used to emphasize syllables. So example here, we're going to read this. We have here training, greeting, Mr., customer, talented, circumstance, conference, computer, determine, authorize, consider, reconsider, establishment, authority, cooperative, cooperation, appreciation, and we have the last is consideration. So those are voice pitch, the highs and lows of sound. Next, the tone. The tone is the characteristic of the sound. Also signifies emotion. Kung luya-luya ka, then that's the tone of your voice. Then pwede mo ma-convey na you are sad. So examples of the different tones we have here. Good morning to you all. It is a very exciting event. I'm sorry about your loss. I apologize for late delivery. We have consistently been the #1 distributor of this product. So parang ganon. Those are the different tones which signifies emotion. Next, the words you choose. Of course, itong mga words na dapat nating piliin is dapat appropriate sa ating audience. So di ka pwede mag-bad words if ang audience nimo is mga religious na mga people. If below 18 or what, di ba? Di po ka pwede mag-use og super lalom na mga meaning ng English if hindi naman ganoon. If magsispeak ka lang naman sa barangay or may community reach out activity, no? Sa mga indigenous, tapos mag-English ka diha. You have to choose your words properly na hindi offensive and that is timely also. And of course, ma-understand ng inyong mga participants and listeners. Okay? Next. Key to communicating with different personalities. Okay, ito pa paano? We have different personalities kasi sa isang organization or sa isang tao, di ba? So, alam natin we have different personalities. So, how are we going to cope up and how are we going to create an effective communication with these types of people? So, the first one is to understand the people like me concept. Okay? So, dapat hindi mo lang di mo lang i-base yung iyong understanding based on how you would feel, how you would react, but you have to accept na may iba, na iba yung take nila on that specific type of information. Next, appropriate differences, resolve and prevent conflicts. So, wag na pag-awayin, wag na palakihin ang gulo, wag na palakihin ang isang argument kapag hindi siya worth it or it would not contribute for the betterment of your organization. Okay? Sige. So, we have here the different personalities. We have here the clique. Okay. Anong meron? They have their own agenda which works against the majority. So, ito sila, mga nega. They work against the cohesiveness of the group. Okay? Next, the fight club. From the word fight, mga aggressive. They argue in front of the group, either seriously or for fun. So, how are you going to deal with these type of people? Okay? So, recognize actually, you have to as a leader, you have to recognize both ideas and tell them if the arguments are distracting the group. So, di mo siya pwede galgalan po at the same time, no? You have to tell them if they are distracting the group or if nakakontribute lang yung idea, no? Para mahilom siya. Because most of these people who are who has this type of personality, they are egoistic and they are very narcissistic and also very ma-pride. Okay, so yan siya. At least to tone down din naman yung kanilang pride and ego. Next, Mr. Expert na kani sweeto believes in himself too much. Okay, so how are you going to deal with these types of people? Okay, so you have to consult him and recognize him for his contribution. Ask him to help others. Kay expert man kasi gitabangi si Koan. Tell to listen to other ideas also. So, di mo siya pwede na, okay, since he is the expert, siya na lang pwede mong pasturyahon. Tell him also to listen to other ideas. Baka may mas better pa. Okay? Next, the jester. The jester, they are a humorous person who provides break from serious discussion, but he or she can also distract and irritate the participants. Next, Mr. Talkie Talkie. So, ito, madaldal. He talks endlessly and sometimes goes off track. So, minsan, daghan na kayo siyang nastorya pero walay natabang. Okay? Gives a lot of unsolicited examples. So, yan. And talks a lot about himself. So, puro na lang, ako, katungkuan, ako, ingan ani ko, ingan ani. So, that is Mr. Talkie Talkie. So, how are you going to deal with these types of people? First is call others to share. Para muhilom siya. Dili lang kayo siya ang magsigig mama. Tell him to listen to other ideas. Recap what he shared para di po siya ma-feel niya na left out siya or wala nimo gi-honor or gi-acknowledge ang iyahang mga ideas. And move to the next topic. So after mo nimo ma-recall, you move to the next topic or the next participant who is going to share an idea. Highlight also the objective of the discussion para hindi mag-go off track si Mr. Talkie Talkie. Mag-stick siya doon sa topic. Okay? Next, the antisocial. So, ito po sila mga antisocial. They do not contribute. Hindi po sila magstorya. Andyan lang sila, display lang. So, how are you going to deal with these types of people? Recognize his presence. Okay? You have to engage them kasi ito, either they are shy or they think na wala sila matabang. That's why di na lang po sila matabang. So, ikaw as a leader, you have to recognize their presence. Ay, si Kuan, basig na siya'y ma-share. Ay, si Kuan, murag how to siya sa ingon ani na Kuan. Ingon ani na butang siya na lang maghimo or something like that. Seek his opinion, give him opportunities to participate. So that is for antisocial na personality. Next, last slide. 10 tips for public speaking. So para maging successful. Okay. Know your material. So dapat alam mo yung topic na ibibigay mo and na i-relay mo. Next is to practice. So mag-practice ka sa bahay ng pag-public speak. You practice how you're going to deliver your speech. You practice how you're going to glance, no? And how you're going to walk. So, dapat it takes practice. Know the audience. So, dapat alam mo yung mga audience. Not specifically their names, but their background. Saan sila nanggaling? Are they students? Are they employees? Or do they belong to a certain organization? You have to know your audience para makarelate ka and makarelate sila sa'yo. Next, know the room, okay? Relax. Next, visualize yourself giving your speech. So, dapat, in order for you to create a successful public speaking, you have to visualize giving your speech. Para pagdating doon, di nakakabado, ay, ingon ani mo day ang feeling ani, uy, daghan man kay tao, dili lang ko. You have to visualize yourself giving your speech. You have to expect the worst is going to, you have to expect the worst, okay? Para kung ano man ang resulta, best na yun para sa'yo. Okay, next, realize that people want you to succeed. So, para di ka mag-uol, wala ka, pangitaan ko lang mali. You have to realize that people want you to succeed. That's why they are going to listen to you. Okay? Don't apologize. Yan. And concentrate on the message, not the medium. So, bisag unsa pa kagwapo imong presentation, bisag unsa pa kagwapo ang imuhang mga brochure na gipanghatag, pero hindi mo na-convey or na-relay ang message na gusto mong ipamahagi sa iyong mga listeners, then you are not, then what you're doing is not successful at all. And the last one is to gain experience. So in public speaking, doesn't have to be perfect. You have to gain experience. It is a lesson na in the next time that you're going to do public speaking, may natutunan ka from your previous experience. So that's gaining experience. Nobody's perfect, and there's a room for improvement. Okay? So that's it for today's lesson. I hope you learned something. I will see you guys in the next lecture.